Okay, so I'm kind of doing something different instead of my typical pickup video, and I apologize for looking like I'm looking off way to the left over there. I got my cell phone set up. I don't really have the time to get my camcorder out and set up the tripod and all that stuff. Yesterday I posted a video about my pickups at CCAG, and in that video I kind of said that I was disappointed with the show. Later on, my good friend Joseph Ross from Cerulean Games posted his pickup video, and in it he mentioned that my opinion didn't mesh with his as far as the pricing went. We both agreed on the reproduction games, and he pretty much finished that video out strong, saying, don't let fuck-ups like that ruin the hobby for you. So this is me just kind of explaining where I was coming from, and this is kind of a counterpoint. I've known of Joe since 2012. I first met him at CCAG in 2012, and over the past 3 years, Joe's somebody that I've really grown to respect, both as a friend and as a fellow video game collector and reseller. I've watched this business grow. Him and Brody, they always bring their A game. They bring a lot of great stuff. And Joe is one of those people that he's reasonably priced, but he'll never be afraid to haggle with you. And you should never be afraid to haggle with him. Joe is a very reasonable person, and he's cut me some great deals. Joe's the main reason I went to the Midwest Gaming Classic in Wisconsin. It's like I would have never in a million years imagined driving 8 hours with my girlfriend to someplace I've never been in a car that could die at any minute to buy video games and just to show my friends some support. And that was really the main reason I went, is, he was talking it up, and I was like, it'd be cool if I showed up. It'd be cool if we could hang out. And we did, we got dinner afterwards, and we had a really good discussion. But I started really collecting in August of 2008. I grew up a Sega boy. I had a Master System as a kid, a Genesis, Sega CD, 32X. And then after the 32X, I kind of jumped to Sega train and went to Sony, and I had a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and then I went all over the place for a while. I just bought like every game system. Eventually, I traded a lot in college, but I kind of let it go for a while. I graduated college. I had some personal problems. Went through a pretty rough patch in my life for about 4 years. I'd say between 2003 and 2007. Just really bad times for me. And in 2008, I was on Craigslist, and a guy had a Sega Master System with 2 controllers, a phaser, all the hookups, and a couple games. And I think he wanted like $45-50 for it, which I was like, I had this thing as a kid. It'd be cool to be able to play like Ghostbusters and Alex Kidd and Double Dragon and all the games that I had. So I bought it, and I started collecting for it. Most of that system, I think, came from eBay, to be honest with you. But I was buying up lots, and I started realizing that Columbus had a huge, huge retro gaming scene. There's a lot of ads on there for like Nintendos and just classic systems, mainly Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and I think Sega Genesis was pretty much the 3 big ones that I saw. And as time went on, I was so anti-Nintendo that I never bought one. I refused to buy one. So I collected Sega exclusively. I had a Genesis, a 32X, a Sega CD, I had a Game Gear, and I had a Sega Dreamcast. And at one point in time I had a Virtual Boy, to be honest with you. I had that, and I had a 3DS. And I ended up selling those to Muzz at level 1. I kind of had a rough patch with my job. We were laid off, and I needed some quick cash. So I sold those, and then I went exclusively Sega. And as time went on, my best friend, Angie, as some of you know, I kind of refer to as my sister, but Angie met this guy named Justin, and Justin was also a big collector. He was a big Nintendo collector, and it was kind of like when worlds collide, you know. I had Sega, he had Nintendo. We both kind of were like about the other person's preferences, but the more and more we grew to be friends, the more and more we realized that we really enjoyed games on each other's systems. So, as time went on, the Game Gear I let go of at Corks for a ridiculous price. I think I sold to some guy for like chicken sandwich or something like that. I think I literally let it go for $10 with a bunch of games and a case and a charger because I just wanted to be rid of the damn thing. It was horrible. I sold my Sega CD and my 32X collection to Chris Webb at GameSmart in Chillicothe. Chris is, I don't know if he's like really a friend, but he's a partner or some association with Dan Lowry from Capital Games. I sold my Dreamcast collection to Warp Zone right after Darren opened the store. What else? I think the systems I traded in somewhere. And then I started collecting some PS1. I had a really killer N64 collection for a while. The PS1 I ended up selling to Warp Zone. The N64 I sold again to Chris Webb. And it's like I kind of focused. I was like, I started hitting on key systems that I knew had a lot of games that I enjoyed as a kid. So I picked up a Nintendo. I redid it. You can see it there in the background. The red and white one. That is a custom painted Famicom styled NES system that I did. There's a Super Nintendo over there and my Sega Saturn. My Master System's on a shelf right where my thumb is. Whole bunch of games back there, as you can see. Right now, my total is probably close to 500. I think total games, I'm like at 474 or something like that. Some ridiculous number of games. But whenever I got back into collecting, like I said, experimented with different systems. I had a 3DO at one time, and I can't remember who I sold that to. I can't remember if I sold that to Chris Webb or if I sold that to Warp Zone or if I private. No, I private sold it. Now that I think about it, I think I private sold it for like $100. I cleaned it up real nice. And I had this giant box. The guy who sold it to me for $75 with, it was like 80 burnt games. They were all the stuff he downloaded from the internet and burned, or he wanted one copied or something. And it had a new unboxed controller from Japan, and it had the Capcom fighting controller for Street Fighter 2. But I sold it, and I got my Super. I've actually gone through 2 Super Nintendos. The Saturn I picked up. Actually, I think I picked that one up in a trade. And then I got a Retron 5. So with that, I've kind of expanded my library. Right now, I currently have a complete Sega Master System US collection. Well, we'll call it 99% complete. My Sonic doesn't have the UPC sticker on it. I bought it on eBay. It did have a sticker. I ended up taking it out to a guy out in West Virginia who is a huge Sega collector, and this guy was crazy. Like, he authenticated it for me, and I also took my Buster Douglas boxing to make sure the artwork was an original, that it wasn't a photocopy or something like that. And I mean, this guy like had a micrometer and he had a magnifying glass, and you know, he's like, oh, these 2 barcodes are off by such and such a degree, and if you look here, you can see the dots from the inkjet printer. And you know, he pretty much told me, your game's real, your UPC's fake. And I won't even get into the argument over the price of a $480 sticker. But other than that, everything else I have is real. It's complete. My Buster Douglas, he authenticated as being real. He even showed me comparisons of like what a fake would look like under a magnifying glass, and it was like color gradients and hard edges and soft edges and stuff like that. And it was just really incredible. But to get back on track, I collect for 2 different reasons. I collect because I enjoy it. I like the culture. I love running the convention circuit. This year has been amazing as far as that end has gone. Thankfully, I have an awesome job where I make decent money and I still have the time to do these things. They give me phenomenal vacation benefits and everything like that. So I was able to go to Wisconsin in April with Katie, who is my girlfriend. I went to Corgs. I went to CCAG yesterday. And I might hit up ACEC. And I said in my video that I'm going to step away from it for a while. Let me clarify. I am in no way disenchanted with the hobby from my experience from yesterday. I'm not going to let a couple bad apples spoil the whole entire thing for me. Right now, I'm focusing on getting my finances together. I got some stuff I need to pay off. I need to be thinking about, getting an apartment or a house to house 5 people. My girlfriend has 3 kids, and you go from being single to having a family of 5. You need a lot of extra room, and right now, I live in a 2-bedroom house. It won't work. So I got to focus on that. My car is pushing 200,000 miles. I need to be thinking about getting a family vehicle. I need a new laptop so I can do video editing and do my audio editing. Just a lot of things I got to work on and get to come together. And I really need to shift my financial focus to that. And by all means, whenever I start getting my stuff under control, I'm going to come back strong. I don't care. It's a part of me and it will never die. It never will, no matter. It's like 20 years from now, I'm still going to be a gamer. I'm going to be close to 60 years old playing Mario Brothers with my kids. I don't care what anybody says. I've been poked at. I've been told that I'm childish. I've been told I'm immature. I've been told that I'm wasting my life because I sit on my butt playing games all the time. And it's like, let me tell you something, okay? I'm 36 years old. I'm a freaking adult. I was raised right by my parents. My real friends understand that what I do is fun. It's fun for me. My girlfriend has been amazing with this. Whenever I took her to Wisconsin, I actually kind of had fear that she wouldn't enjoy it, and she had a blast. It's been a way to connect with my kids. I've connected with people at work over it. I've made some really great friends at work who are also into gaming. I have the honor of working with somebody who plays Smash Brothers competitively. He went to Evo and placed in he placed in the top 64 out of 1,500. It's incredible. Met a guy who works for Rockstar Games. Won't mention his name, just for privacy reasons, but I have met him. I've sat down and had dinner with the guy, and really incredible guy. I've met awesome store owners, awesome vendors, awesome resellers, and it was so cool because whenever I went to Wisconsin, besides Joe and Brody, there's a guy, I think his name is Dave, and I've seen Dave everywhere. He's a big dude. He has a ponytail, big boomy voice, but he's a great guy. He really is. And he's like, dude, I remember you. I haven't seen you. Where you been? It's like, yeah, I've, been working. And he's like, oh man, it's like awesome for you to come out. So stuff like that really outweighs the bad. So to kind of get back to what I was saying, my original gripe with CCAG was I was saying there was a lot of people who are overpriced out there. And in counterpoint, yes. If you see something and you don't like the price, ask. Be educated and ask. I get that. I've been doing this, like I said, I started collecting hardcore 7 years ago, so I've learned a lot. I've been screwed, I've been burnt, I have gotten fake stuff, I've worked with really crappy vendors, and I'm pretty selective, I'm really, really selective about who I work with. I can't recommend Warp Zone and Hilliard enough. A lot of people are like, well, you think Darren's your buddy and everything. It's like, yeah, Darren is a buddy. Darren's a good dude. But even if I didn't know Darren on a personal level, I would still shop at his store more than anybody else, just because of 2 things. Clean store. Actually, I had 3 things. 3 things. Clean store. Awesome prices. He always sells below eBay. And really knowledgeable staff. Those are the 3 things that draw me to a store. I used to be a big guy into Play It, Trade It, but their prices went absurd. I mean, the guy's charging $30 for a Super Mario World. It's a $15 game, dude. I've recently become a pretty big fan of Game On. The one here in Chillicothe, Jared, he's a great guy. The person he hired is a great guy. Dylan was a great guy who, I won't get into it, but Dylan no longer works for Game On. The one in Circleville, Cody was a great dude. Brian's a good dude up on South High Street, It's like, sometimes they're a little bit high, but I'll go there just because I go in there and I'm welcomed. People greet me on a first-name basis, and it's a cool feeling. It's good to know that people remember you. And sure, I'm willing to squeeze out a couple extra bucks. And as much as I complain about them, even GameSmart here in Chillicothe, Chris's prices can be a little absurd, but I can work with Chris, and I know how to work with Chris, and Chris knows that I know how to work with him. So, there again, that's a situation where prices are high, but because the dealer knows that I know, he's more than willing to work with me. And sometimes we go back and forth, and Chris's big thing is, well, shipping. Yeah, that might be a $40 game, but you're going to pay $5 for it shipped. So basically, me having $50 on that $40 game, you're paying shipping plus a little bit extra for the convenience of being here. It's like, come on, man, It's like, sometimes, I'll pay maybe 10% extra on a game. But whenever I go to a convention and a guy shows up and he has what I call, prime stuff, basically games that are valued at close to $1,000 a piece. I'm talking about stuff like Lil Samson, Flintstones, Dino Peak, Hagane, what else can I think of? Even some stuff that's not even that high. Let's talk $200, $300 games. Let's look at Panic Restaurant. Let's look at Earthbound, Castlevania Dracula X, Super Turrican 2. These are games that I may never buy just because of the price. I think the most expensive game I've ever bought was my Mega Man 8 on Saturn, and I didn't even buy it. I traded for it, and Joe gave me a freaking awesome deal on it. I traded an Evo and a few other Super Nintendo games, and he let me have that and a Double Dragon 2 on Nintendo, which is like a $10 game. But it was a good deal. I felt I got a good deal on it. Evo is, if I were to sell Evo today, I'd ask $180 for it. If I was selling it in a store, I'd probably come down to $160. But I bought it for less than $160. I wouldn't expect anybody to trade me more than maybe $100 on it. And I really feel that he probably gave me more than that. And it was a great deal. He made me a great deal on a Darkwing Duck and Clock Tower 3 at CCAG. And, there were good vendors there. There was Brian's Video Game Trader. He set me up a good package deal. There was a couple ladies next to him. They set me up a great deal. And I think my main reason for getting upset was it was just that I couldn't believe that there was 4 or 5 people. As Joe said in his video, 5, maybe 6 people were just really outrageous on their pricing, and they were dicks about it. Guy had a Parasite Eve 2 for $35. And I was going to say, okay, it's $10 over. But if it looks good, I'll do 30 on it. If the guy won't give me $5 off, whatever, shady. So I opened it up. Manual's nice. Disc 2's good. Disc 1 has a radial scratch in it. And for those of you who don't know, a radial scratch is a scratch that goes around the circumference. It goes around the hub. Pretty much it follows the path of the laser. They're near impossible to get out. If you try to resurface a disc with a radial scratch, you're really taking a gamble on it actually working. 50-50 chance. And I just kind of looked at it, and I said to myself, okay, I have the ability to buff out a disc here at home. I mean, it's not a big fancy machine like they have in game stores where you pay $2 or $3 to use it, but I have one that works, and it's saved my butt a few times. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it home. If disc 1 fails, I can always go on eBay, and I'm pretty sure I can find a replacement disc. Or push comes to shove, I'll go to Chris, and Chris usually will give me a replacement disc for like $10. So I went up and I was like, "What's the lowest you can go on this?" He's like, "Oh, that's a really, really rare game." I was like, "Yeah," and it's like, I wouldn't call it really rare, but it's uncommon. He's like, "Well," he's like, "You don't see that. You don't see that in a while." And I was like, and I'm in the back of my head going, "Dude, I've seen it at 5 different stores for $20 and $25 a piece." And the only reason I haven't picked it up yet is because it really hasn't been high on my list of priorities. But my goal with this show was to try to get the best bang for the buck. Like, I've spent probably close to $1,200 this year on games, just at conventions. We won't go into what I've spent off the side. But I took $260 with me, and I sold some stuff. I sold my Nosferatu to Cerulean, and then came across a guy that was holding a copy of Brawl Brothers. So I was like, "Dude, I got Peacemakers." No, not Peacemakers, Peacekeepers. It's like, "I got Peacekeepers," and he's like, "How much you want for it?" And I'll be honest with you, I could have sold it to the guy for $10 and it would have been a profit, because I traded for that game at Corks. I didn't actually pay out of my pocket for it. So I told him, I was like, "Oh man, it's worth like $50. eBay's got it for 43. I was like, "I'll do 40 on it." And then he tried to talk me down to 30, and in the back of my head, I'm like, "I'll take 30 for it, but let's see if I can get a little bit more out of this guy." I was like, "Come on, man." I was like, $30. I was like, that's going pretty low. I was like, "That's a hell of a deal. That's like 25% off what it's worth." I was like, "How about 35? Deal, man, So I got $35 for that. And then I had a copy of Double Dragon 3D arcade game for Sega Genesis, and I had a copy of Landstalkers. Now, Double Dragon 3 on Sega Genesis is a giant turd. And I was so desperate to get rid of it, I probably would have just given it away. And I basically did. I told the guy, I was like, "If you want both of these, $15. I was like, "They're worth 30, but $15, they're yours." So basically he bought Landstalkers, and I gave him Double Dragon 3 to suffer through and smash his head against a wall and punch pillows and cuss and scream and throw his controller or whatever at for free. And that's an amazing experience for $0 to get pissed off at the game enough that you're going to break shit. But anyway, so I did good. I did good. And I take back what I said. It wasn't really a horrible show. It wasn't really a disappointing show. There was just a few people there who were taken away from. They were taken away from what I felt could have been a contender for the best show. I gotta think here in my head how I want to word this, because I don't like showing favoritism, and I'm kind of weird about saying who I know and how I know people. But Korgs, and I'm saying this putting aside the fact that Gary's a good friend. I know Gary Carnucci. When I was out of a job, he helped me tremendously. I mean, the guy tried to get me a job at Bonger Engel. Well, he tried to get me a good job. We'll just say that. And, he's a great dude. He really is a great guy. But taking away the fact that he is a friend, I'm going to say it right now. Korgs, nobody's going to beat Korgs. There's just no way. Nobody is going to beat Korgs ever. Not after this year. This year was just the most phenomenal show I have ever seen. I mean, I thought Midwest was the bomb. Korgs dropped a big giant bomb on Midwest. Gary Carnucci and Game Rare, they put this show together every year, and they try to promote the hell out of it. And most of it's word of mouth. I'll be honest with you, it's mostly word of mouth and Facebook. And he utilizes Craigslist. I know he puts some flyers in Valpak. Valpak goes to kind of your middle-class suburban families, your soccer moms. Very few soccer moms are going to show up at a gaming convention. But I give them, I definitely give them props for the effort for trying to advertise like that. But it really was. It was the best show I've been to this year. and I don't see how anything can possibly top it. Not locally. You know, I know there's bigger conventions all over the U.S., but as far as a local convention, it's like, dude, there's no way. So, CCAG could have been a really close second if it wasn't for two things. The reproduction thing really, really pissed me off. I have no problem with somebody selling you a reproduction of Star Ocean or Final Fantasy 5 or 6 on Super Nintendo. I have no problem with you buying a reproduction of Final Fantasy 2 or 3 on regular Nintendo. Sweet Home, freaking fantastic game. Even like a Star Fox 2, which is a prototype, or Earthbound, which is released, which is basically a release that got shelved at the last minute. You know, Golden Axe 3 on Genesis, Mega Man: The Wily Wars on Genesis, the Zelda BS games, you know, the Satellite games. Those, okay. You couldn't buy them in the States. During the time that the Super Nintendo was being sold, in the 1990s, you could not buy those games. You couldn't buy Tales of Phantasia. You couldn't buy Terranigma. You couldn't buy Final Fantasies 4 through 6, even though 2 and 3 technically are 4 and 6, but they're not the same game. You couldn't buy Star Ocean. You couldn't buy... what else? Stupid Sanrio's. Well, I'm not going to say stupid because I play it, but Sanrio's Smash Ball. You couldn't buy that. You know? So, I can understand those having to market $50, $60 a piece, you know. Somebody goes through the work of printing off the label, of burning the ROM, buying the equipment to be able to burn the ROM, buying the boards, buying the chips. You know, it really is a lot of work. And then something like my reproduction of Rekka, if you open that thing up, it looks like a freaking... It looks like a mad scientist nightmare in there. There's so many wires. And that's a lot of work. And it's a really excellent solder job. Like, I know a crappy solder job. I've opened up an original Xbox 360. So, I know what a crappy solder job looks like. But, you know, so I have no problem paying these guys for their time and their labor and their skills. I get that. Some of them buy them from mass vendors. But whenever you roll in and you have a 1-to-1 copy of Mega Man 7, you have a 1-to-1 copy of Hagane, you have a 1-to-1 copy of Castlevania Dracula X. I mean, we're looking at games to go for $150, $200, in the case of Hagane, $500 to $700. And you're selling a 1-to-1 reproduction. What this does is it kills. It kills the market. Okay? Now, someone like myself, someone like Joe Ross, someone like, you know, hundreds of other people that I see at these conventions. You know, there's guys walking around with game bits. I don't blame them. If you're going to pay money for a game, you want to make sure that game's real. If a guy's selling you a game for $900, he better fucking open that cartridge up and make sure it's real. Otherwise, you're going to have a sore butt. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But, there's a vendor in Columbus that has a storefront who sells 1-to-1 reproductions. He puts a little tiny green sticker that says Repro on it that can be easily peeled off and the gear removed with a magic eraser. And I've said his name before. I'm not going to do it here. I'm not going to throw him under the table. I originally just had a deep-seated disappointment in this guy. I was hurt. He's a guy that I've dealt with for years. I don't shop at his store anymore because of this. I went in one day. I had heard a rumor that he was selling reproductions of Mega Man X2, Mega Man 7, Hagane, Earthbound, Castlevania Dracula X. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, you're full of shit. Somebody's got a problem with this dude. So, I'll check it out. And I went in, and he's standing behind the counter with 2 of them in his hand. Like, oh yeah, dude. Nobody will ever know the difference. I mean, you walk in, you got Hagane on your shelf. It's like, dude, I paid $50 for that. What? It's like, yeah. And the guy's like, how are you getting away with that? He's like, oh, it says Repro right here. This is where I agree with Joe. Or Joe agrees with me, or we agree with each other. I think I just said the same thing 3 times. But anyway, that's shady, it's immoral, and it's going to destroy this hobby. It's going to make everybody so paranoid that they're not going to trust anybody. So you're going to have 1,000 people walking around with a screwdriver in one hand and probably something to shank you in the neck in the other because you're charging $1,200 for a fake. You know, I don't want that. Nobody wants that. That would suck the joy out of this. It killed the sense of community, the sense of friendship that you make with these people, you know. And I if I see the guy, I'll say hi to him. I'm polite, but I don't shop at his store. He's trying to set up a convention here in Ohio. I refuse to go to it. I can't give this guy any of my money anymore until I know 100% for sure that he stops selling fakes in the store. So that's my opinion on that. My opinion on people overcharging for stuff. To a degree, if you're going to charge $70 for a $60 game at a convention, somebody might be able to tuck it down to $60. You might even take that $60. Okay, you broke even. You made retail. I know you paid less than $60 for that game. You probably paid tops $40, maybe $45 if you're a good dude. So you're not. Most of the time, you're not a storefront. Or if you are a storefront, you go to these for the fun of it and just to make a little bit extra profit. You're not looking to make a killing. You're looking to make deals. So, I know I said somebody had a $70 copy of Resident Evil on Sega Saturn with a water damage manual. I'm sure if I went up and I pointed that out and I said, listen, VGPC has it for $60 new. The current trend on eBay is roughly around $65. So, it's like manual's damage. We do $55 on it. I'm pretty sure, given the person that it was, he probably would have said yes. And I probably shouldn't have cited that as an example. The guy with the little Samson, the Panic Restaurant, and the Flintstones that I mentioned, no offense, but that's a dick move. You know, don't show up to a collector's convention if you're not collector-minded. And that's all I'm going to say. You know, I'm sure he's a good guy. I've heard that he's kind of respected. That's fine and dandy. But don't show up charging $300 more than what a game's worth. That's all I'm going to say. If he had his little Samson for $1,000, I'm sure somebody could have said, okay, I'll pay you $854, and he probably would have gone with it. But if you mark something at $1,200, this is what I'm thinking. He's got $1,200 on that game. He's probably not going to go below $1,000 on it. That's still $100 more than what it retails for on eBay. I should be able to talk him down to $800 on it. Nobody's going to take a $400 hit. No one. Unless you're stupid. Or you're just there to be a dick tease. So, you know, that's where I was coming from. And I will say overall, I got a lot of stuff at CCAG. I was overall pleased with the show. It wasn't a horrible show. There was just a few bad eggs. And that's all it was. So, in closing, you know, I just want to say that the show did not taint my opinion of the hobby. I'm still going to collect. I'm still going to buy games. I'm still probably going to hit up shows next year. Maybe I might skip the Midwest next year. I might just start out with Korgs and then CCAG. I'll go again. I'll give anybody a second chance. And I might go to the GamersCon, I think is what it's called. There was one in Mansfield a few weeks ago. And I've never been to that, but I've heard it's a good show. So I might go to that too. But, you know, nothing's going to ruin the hobby for me. Nobody can ruin it for me. I mean, unless I end up losing friends and family over this stuff. Which my friends and family know that this is my life. This is what I do. You know, this is my fun. This is my passion. You know, there's far worse things in life I could be doing than spending money on all this. But this is mine. And this is me. You know, and you can't take that away from me. No matter what. No matter how shitty of an experience I might have. So, I'm not going anywhere. You know, Joe, I totally respect your opinion, and you're right. Let it go. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm letting it go. I was fired up. I'd just gotten back. I'd just coming off the heels of a shaky experience. But he's right. He's right. It shouldn't be a chip on my shoulder. I shouldn't let it get under my skin. And basically, I didn't have to pay attention to those people, and I did, and I shouldn't have. I should have just been like, whatever, I'll go to the next person. And I shouldn't let it deter me from trying to find better deals. I will say that I only paid full price for a handful of stuff that I got. Everything else, I did bundles. Or I just walked up and I said, I'm not paying that much. So, that's pretty much it. I'm sorry I've taken up pretty much almost 40 minutes of your time rambling, but, sometimes whenever I get things off my chest, I have to ramble on and on and on to get to the point. So, yeah, CCAG, not as horrible as I said. Still not the best thing I've been to, but by far from the worst I've been to. And, I totally give it up to the honest vendors, to everybody who shows up, willing to deal, willing to bring top-notch stuff, and also some common and maybe some uncommon stuff, not exactly rare, but your $20 to $30 games who are willing to work with you a little bit. Even a 10% discount is a discount. If you got a $20 game and I want 15 on it, I'll pay 18. I'll pay 17. I'll still pay 20 if you say no, but everybody's going to try to get a deal. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I know it's rare to see my face on video. I'm kind of weird about people seeing me. I don't know why. I just always have been. But, this is me. That's me. And that's never going to stop, no matter what. So, to all you guys, like I said, it's not a goodbye. I'll talk to you later. Peace.